Amber, once devoted, became obsessed with money. Women now cheat, more blaming their husbands. I met Amber by chance. We dated, married, and moved into my grandmother's apartment. Life was tough but stable. Suddenly, she wanted a better apartment, raising suspicions. One day, I found her with another man. She confessed she was leaving for a Spaniard. I threw her out 3 weeks later. She returned, turned her affair a disaster. She begged for forgiveness. But I was set on divorce. Her tears couldn't change my decision. This is my story. Enjoy watching. One wise guy once stated that you shouldn't strive to understand women, instead love them. But how can you love them if money is their primary priority? According to statistics, infidelity is more widespread in women than in males. Furthermore, they do not think it is anything special when a woman is found cheating. She tries to blame it on her husband, arguing that both parties are always too responsible for marital difficulties, including adultery. I met my future wife Amber by happenstance. I was visiting a college acquaintance and we had agreed to collaborate on a project. At the time, there was a young woman of our age at his house, his neighbour, who had come to ask his mother to teach her how to prepare a complicated meal. After my friend and I completed working on the project, the women finished cooking, and we all enjoyed a great supper together. That's how I met my future wife Amber. I was 20 years old and she was 21. We dated for approximately a year before marrying and moving out of our parents' house shortly after college graduation. My parents gave us my grandmother's flat after she died. A month after we married, it was difficult at first. Since following the wedding, we were both hunting for decent employment and had little money, but we made it work. I received a well-paying job that suited my talents and qualifications. My wife has also started making decent money at her job. We began to consider having children as our marriage became more steady. Amber wanted to have 2 children, a son and a daughter, but she was concerned that she wouldn't be able to have healthy children due to health difficulties. So we began carefully preparing for pregnancy, attending various courses, seeing different physicians, and having tests done on a regular basis. But just as physicians and test results indicated that we were both ready, Amber unexpectedly changed her mind about having children. She stated that we were too young and had plenty of time, so we should not rush, and instead focus on other goals such as improving our living conditions and moving to a larger, preferably 3-bedroom apartment with adequate space for everyone. I agree with her logic. I was a little astonished she had changed her mind so quickly. Soon later, a series of bizarre little things occurred, raising my concerns. I noticed that my wife began spending a lot of time on social media, and she did it on her work laptop, which she password protected, as well as her phone, despite the fact that I never used either. Some miscommunications started to occur. Secrets surfaced. It had no effect on our daily lives, but it did have a significant impact on our sexual lives. My wife frequently returned home late, weary, and occasionally didn't sleep at all. Working on her top, I did not enjoy it at all. I decided to discuss it honestly with her, but instead of a discourse, I received charges that I do not appreciate her work ethic. I still didn't understand why she began a fight. It emerged later and had nothing to do with work. Normally, I wouldn't come home for lunch, but this time I chose to leave work early and agreed with my employer. My wife had the day off, so I decided to surprise her. I bought flowers and planned to invite her to a restaurant so we could have a more casual conversation, maybe encouraging her to be honest. But when I got home, I noticed from the hallway that there were some sexual activities going on in the kitchen. When Amber and a man noticed my presence, they trembled and wrenched away from one another. They hastily dressed themselves after picking up the clothing that were thrown on the floor. Then my wife tells me that it's time for an honest chat. I wasn't expecting such cynicism and cold-bloodedness from my wife, and it enraged me. I flung the book at her and yelled at her to leave the flat with her lover. I can't recall what else I was yelling in a fit of rage and hatred. We faced off against each other. The man tried to say something and even calm me down, but I threw his hand away and hit the stranger twice in the face. But Amber defended him and stood between us. My wife was about to leave me for this stranger, and she said I had no right to be a citizen of a foreign state. That's when I began listening to his words and observed that the guy spoke English badly, and with a noticeable accent with difficulty, he began to tell me that he had long loved my wife and had come to take her to Spain. I appraised him. He seemed to be over 40 years old and objectively ugly despite his nice clothing. Plainly, he was another wealthy guy hunting for a beautiful young lady. The puzzle in my thoughts came together immediately when cleaning the flat and putting away the clean clothing. I discovered a couple of books in her underwear drawer. One was an English-Spanish phrase book, the other was entirely in Spanish, and the third was a textbook for learning Spanish from start. Back then I was shocked, but didn't think much of it. Maybe my wife wanted to learn something new and subsequently go with me to Spain or another Spanish-speaking nation for vacation. Now I realized that her secret correspondences, stealth and foreign language textbooks were all due of her boyfriend. I was such an idiot for not understanding it right away. Turns out they were waiting for me to return from work in the evening to disclose that they had been exchanging letters for almost a year and had been in a covert relationship for about a month. My wife said that she loved this guy deeply, that she met the Spaniard online, that they fell in love, and that he had come for her. He was excellent, kind, courteous, well-mannered, gallant, and inherently superior to me in every aspect. So she planned to accompany him to Spain and reside in Malaga, a port city. She claimed all of the divorce paperwork were already prepared, and I could sign them right away. She had already signed, she had already packed the essentials for the first several days. I could discard the rest since her boyfriend promised to buy her everything new. They were travelling away in 2 weeks and had already booked their aircraft tickets. After that entire account, all I managed to do was strike the Spaniard in the stomach several times, causing him to abandon the home. What surprises me is Amber's arrogance in trying to chastise me for such conduct. Without saying anything, I grabbed her hair and shoved her out into the street, shutting the door directly in front of her face, soon after her packed luggage flew away because she threatened to call the police. If I didn't return them, I have no remorse about my actions. I almost slapped Amber in the face. If her boyfriend is so wealthy, he may get her a hotel room and bring her to live with him. I immediately phoned work and took a week off at my own cost, informing my manager that I was getting divorced from my wife. He understood everything. I went to the supermarket and spent the money I had saved for the restaurant on wine and food. Instead, I drank for 3 days. I spent the remainder of my time at home doing nothing. How could I do anything while my mind was preoccupied with other things? By the conclusion of my vacation, I had accepted that my marriage had ended despite the grief that came with it. I suppose it's better than everlasting terror. I did not anticipate such deception and treachery from her. My narrative should have stopped there. But as they say, life isn't always swift and straightforward. 3 weeks have gone since I booted out my wife and her boyfriend. I got home from work, ate a hurried supper, and sank on the sofa with a beer bottle intending to watch TV. When the doorbell rang, when I opened the door, my wife stood on the threshold of my home. She instantly said that we needed to discuss, very seriously. Come in. I say we can chat if we need to. I can't explain how much I gloated. Turns out this Spaniard had his sights set on more than just my wife in America. Aside from her, he had 7 other women. Naturally, he only selected one, and it was not my wife. He went to Spain on the same airline tickets as a 19-year-old female, while robbing Amber of all her money savings and valuable jewelry. My wife went back to live with her mother for a week. Throughout the week she lived there, she thought about me and recalled our time together. She understood how much she had lost when she abandoned me, and she just couldn't live without me. She said with phony tears in her eyes that she had made a tremendous mistake, that she genuinely loved only me, and that she sincerely regretted her actions. She said with phony tears in her eyes that she had made a tremendous mistake, that she really loved only me, that she greatly regretted her actions and begged me to forgive her. She recognizes that forgiveness will not come immediately, but she is willing to work on herself and make every attempt to correct her faults so that nothing like this happens again. She wants to have children with me and accepts all of the criteria I set. Of course, she wanted to know if I had signed the divorce papers or not. I said, okay, I'll think about it. Come see me in like 3 weeks. Then I claimed that I had signed the papers, even though I actually hadn't. At that point, I said, say then, it's better she leaves now, because some girls were supposed to come over. To my place, you should have seen her expression when I suggested other ladies. I didn't care if it was a lie. I have no regrets about my little joke when my wife arrived 3 weeks later. I was dead bent on divorce, having completed all the paperwork and submitting it to court. Amber seems to explode. At that moment, she said that all she had done was a tremendous mistake and she did not want to lose me. She flung herself on my neck and wept loudly, but this time she didn't fake it. I felt sad for her, but I had no more sympathetic sentiments for her. I couldn't forgive the treachery and dishonesty I experienced, and I doubt I ever will. When we divorced, I felt immense relief and independence, as it turned out. After the divorce, my grandmother's flat remained mine, so I relaxed and enjoyed the isolation for a while. Amber lingered around me after the divorce and constantly begging for forgiveness for her mistake, perhaps expecting I'd give our relationship another shot, but that never happened. She went back home with her parents and our contact stopped, totally. I don't know how she lives today, and I never considered it while I'm still young. I can concentrate on myself and live my life as I see fit. That is the tale. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the article. Thank you for being with us.